This is Take 5 with Bentley, Nevada. In the studio with us again today is Steve Gaskell. Steve is the principal for product security across the Bentley, Nevada portfolio. We've been talking a lot about Orbit 60 and the cybersecurity that's been baked into that product from kind of day one. We've been talking about IEC 62443, kind of the de facto industry standard right now for industrial instruments and cybersecurity. Steve, we talked a little bit about the idea of insecure by design, not that it was intentionally made that way, but it just wasn't, it wasn't even on anybody's radar. Whereas now it's moved from not even on the map to basically the epicenter of the map. And offline, you'd mentioned that kind of a marching order moving forward. Any new product, whether it's software, hardware, cybersecurity is really a must-have attribute, it sounds like.
It absolutely is, yes. Any next generation products from here on out we'll be following. If it's hardware, we'll follow 62443. Software can be a little different as to which standard you follow. There's certain aspects of 62443 that do apply to software. But for example, with System 1 Evolution, we've been developing that using a secure development lifecycle methodology for quite some years now. So that means going through everything from the start and doing threat modeling, which is kind of brainstorming all the components of the system, how they interact, what are the communications, and what are the opportunities for attacking that device. And it's kind of a fun exercise. You get a bunch of engineers in the room, you put up all the different models, and we argue back into, well, could I compromise this link or this link? Is that process secure? How's it authenticating to this one? So that's the start of it. And then from there, it goes on to, validation, testing, making sure our coders are coding correctly. And we have scanning tools to make sure they're developing the code securely.
Over the years, been to different industry events, and the OSI Soft User Conference, kind of an annual event. COVID's impacted that a little bit, but in terms of gathering, thousands of customers together, they used to have what they called a hackathon. And it was kind of the idea. It was a fun attempt to try to break the product and find vulnerabilities.
Yes.
So sounds like that's what you were referring to. It's kind of fun. You get your own people together, friendly hackers, if you will, and see, can you break it?
Yeah, and really the threat modeling is hacking the design up front. But certainly later on, as we develop the product and we have real hardware to test, I'm always encouraging people, if you can break into it, try to, and let me know so we can fix it. I'd rather learn those things in-house before we release the product than a customer finding those things.
Yeah, exactly. Or even worse, a malicious party finding those things.
Absolutely.
This idea of insecure by design, 3500 designed in kind of the mid-1990s.
Right.
And still in many ways going strong. But security had to be kind of built like a shell around the product as opposed to being in the product. And then you take something like System 1, I think it was launched around 2000, 2001, 99, sort of in there. And obviously, because of the time frame, cybersecurity wasn't really part of the user requirements for that either. How over time has that evolved to be cyber secure?
I think from the last, let's say, 8 years or so, you could certainly see the way security threats were evolving, attacks were coming out in the industry, and knowing that our software was in those environments kind of led us to take a closer look at trying to make, I guess, initially incremental improvements in security. But we've certainly evolved that product and brought it fully into a secure development lifecycle process now, where we routinely pen test it, look for vulnerabilities. In the early days, we found those vulnerabilities as it went through tests. And each time you patch those and you look for others and have a pen tester retest and try and find the problems. And so it's been a journey of improvement. Maybe James has said this, but cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I know that can sound a little trite, but it's clear. It's not what did you do in the past, it's what are you doing today?
Yes.
Threats are different today.
They're evolving continuously, yes.
Think about the evolution of System 1 up to about version 17, something like that. System 1 Classic, and then along came System 1 Evolution. Maybe there's a perception that evolution was primarily upgrade to the user interface. It just looks nicer and it's got some kind of user features, but it sounds like maybe it was a little bit deeper than that, that it probably was a chance to retool it for security and some things too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it really was a fundamental re-architect of the product, different technologies, different coding standards. And we've gone through a number of different databases already in Evolution. But again, it's the database that we can secure, we can talk to reliably. Yeah, it's been a journey on that software product.
You know, the product like System 1, for example, to re-architect it, but yet make it backwards compatible with all that hardware and things. That's a bit of a challenge.
Yep. And it's got some neat features itself. We were talking about data diodes earlier. We've got System 1 replication.
Yes.
So we can replicate the data one way from the control network out to the business network. Yes. And again, there's no way to intrude back to the control network.
That's right. And James McDuffie and I discussed that at some length, this idea of you don't expose that inner version, if you will. You replicate it. You can even do a many-to-one replication.
Exactly, yes.
It's simple, but quite effective.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, Steve, we're out of time. I'm going to ask you back for one more episode. You've been listening to Take 5 with Bentley Nevada, a Baker Hughes business.